here.
Good Morgan.
Member came and went, and they laughed and said, see, what a lunatic. After January 6th, they said, arrest Tim Pool, subpoena him. He had foreknowledge of January 6th. How about that?
I feel like something's
prediction was
off.
not that good, but it was close.
What's off?
So they made fun of me until January 6th happened, and then said it must have been foreknowledge.
Light.
Well, I genuinely believe
Is it this
that
one?
there is but one path. I watched a video where a guy mocked, in front of a big crowd of people, mocked Charlie Kirk and acted like he was getting shot.
Not sure.
I just watched a video where a cyclist, a transgender individual, threatened to kill
Maybe it's
a
this
lady.
one.
Vaguely, not directly. But this person said, we kill Nazis and you're a Nazi, which
Okay.
it's a threat of death.
I think I figured
A
out
man that
something.
physically attacked the lady. The temperature's not coming down.
My camera
And
just
there
froze
is no
again. I
reality by
noticed.
which anyone is going to effectively
So there's
simmer
a
down
cord down
two
there.
distinct moral worldviews. And so I look to Moon, and I will hear what he has to say, and I will offer my commentary
That's
as
interesting.
that Civil War.
I've been wondering why it's been
Famous for bringing
cutting out on me because it's been freezing
assassination
occasionally,
was a tipping point in America,
and
because Charlie was
I'm not
famous
sure
for being
why.
open, unfiltered
It's not my
debate on
camera. My
college
camera's
campuses.
fine.
He was in the midst of one of his
It's got to be
signature
one of my
proving
cords
sessions,
leading into the
with
camera.
Erica and two children being present, when on September 10th, a sniper
Cool.
assassinated him. Just days after Ukrainian
anyway,
refugee
I'm just
was
gonna,
also
like,
savagely murdered
hands
in
off.
Charlotte during a
I'm
race
better
meeting
off
in
using
town.
this, just
And all
not
of this a
touching
year after Trump's
touching
attempted
my
assassination,
desk,
just around
apparently.
the 24th anniversary of 9/11.
I'm all
an
careful
attack
with
that
my-
united Americans.
my mouse
And yet
just-
now these attacks are dividing America more than we've
Minimize.
seen before. While most people were
Siri,
shocked,
minimize.
thousands also expressed their joy over his death.
She's all
Some of the media
minimizing.
even smeared him.
Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use.
And even the House couldn't agree to have a moment of silence for him. Which is why this politically motivated terror attack might just be the one that tears America apart, as it seems a line has now finally been crossed in the country, as his death is a window into how far American political discourse has traveled from division to something far riskier for the entire population. It's why around 43% now believe a civil war is at least somewhat likely in the next 10 years. As we see yet another young 20s
Yeah.
politically radicalized guy
Not
trying
surprised.
to take down open discussion with bullets, whether it be Luigi Mangione, Thomas Matthew Crooks, and Tyler
I think
Robinson.
Tim was
And
talking
making
about this
martyr
like
out of one of Americans' most famous
7-8 years ago.
is only going to radicalize everyone so much
Things
more.
just kind
I
of
will clarify
they
first
bubbled
and
up.
foremost, Luigi
2016,
Mangione is still on
you really
trial,
noticed a
and that's
difference.
so their allegation
2015
as of
is
now,
16.
and it's an important
It was a
distinction,
major
Tyler
difference.
Robinson, according to Kash Patel, effectively confessed. So I think we're going to have an open and shut case on that one. That is important to understand.
Because if you followed US politics over the past decade, you've probably
what
seen
was I
him at least
doing?
once,
Yeah,
as he was
exploring.
everywhere from Fox News podcasts,
I was
college
exploring
campuses,
last
Trump
night.
rallies.
He showed Tim Cast. Oh man,
Yeah,
this is
because all you talk about is Civil
As
War,
he
you
was
fucking
everywhere
Todd.
from Fox News podcast.
That's
this
like your
is,
thing.
Joe Biden in the back.
439. What is that? 430.
That's demonic
439
Joe
thou?
Biden, devouring a little girl. Shout out to G Prime 85's art. Shout out to Charlie Kirk and the Turning Point USA team. This is particularly brutal to have to see, man. That's you can see. Look at this. Where's the chair? Can you see the chair behind me? No, I got the stupid pillow on. I don't need that pillow. There you go. Look at that. Sitting in the chair, man.
Plus college campuses, Trump rallies. He became one of the most recognizable faces in the modern conservative movement, building Turning Point USA at the age of just 18 into a massive operation by the time he died, with $55 million in annual revenue. And
Oh yeah, I was going to listen to
Was for 23, as
the
they're
Charlie
finalizing
debate
the
with
total
Vosh
taxes
today,
now
just
was
kind of
$84 million.
in memory
I'm
of
gonna jump ahead
the
a little
guy.
bit, because I
Because
wanna
that
hear
was
his
the
argument
one
on
that
Civil War.
I was like, maybe Charlie isn't as bad as we're being led to believe. And that's really what the left is. It's like they really just echo so loud that somebody's so bad, and then you just start listening to the guy and you're like,
then things became even
okay, he's got some strong
when people
principles,
soon realized when those
but is
two
he
things
as
were
bad as what they're
custody
saying?
was just decoys.
Usually never,
First was the
ever.
71-year-old
At least
George Zinn,
I've
although
never
activists
seen a
were
case where they're as bad
showing up
as
to
what the
political
left
events with
claims.
Caesar. Witnesses captured videos of police escorting Zinn away from the
What
scene.
are the things they're saying about Kavanaugh?
Was
It's
then
like,
heard saying on the video he
what-
said he shot him, but I don't
and then it just went away. It's like nobody says a word about him anymore.
Despite a massive manhunt,
That man, of course, lied. And we have this report. He told the cops he shot Charlie in order to give the real shooter time to escape.
involving federal federal, state, and local agencies, the actual shooter remained at large for some 48 hours until an extraordinary development. The suspect's own father bravely turned him in. Tyler had confessed the shooting.
So this, I look, with respect to Moon in this video, I don't want to play his whole thing. He's doing a great breakdown and everything. I want to get to the Civil War arguments specifically, and it looks like so far he's just giving us the general breakdown at the beginning. So let's jump to this portion where it gets a little bit more interesting.
Democracy, the danger zone where countries are vulnerable to political violence. Now, people will always naturally disagree on when
do it every time.
happening and which side of the political spectrum is primarily to blame. And it's no secret that the US political system swings like a pendulum from Democrat to Republican. But research from the University of Southern California indicates that each side is now further apart than the early 1900s. In fact, America has been more polarized for a longer period than any other major democracy on the planet. In the kind of conditions the US might be heading for, evidence
by
suggests
design.
that the annual risk for civil
Telling
war
you,
conflict
it's by
is
design.
4% per year. That seems low at face value, but consider that's a compound risk of 40% over 10 years, and suddenly it doesn't look so small anymore.
So let me give you an example. In the 1820s, there was conversation about the possibility of a civil war breaking out in the United States. The reason I say a conversation about the possibility is that it didn't, and it wasn't that serious. But the conversation between the states was obviously the issue of slavery being hotly debated. You see, the Founding Fathers actually did not want slavery. Thomas Jefferson wanted to include in the Declaration of Independence that the Crown had taken other people from across the world and brought them into the U.S. and used them to levy war, to create this system that they did not want. However, Jefferson ultimately decided to remove that from one of the initial statements in the Declaration, as Georgia and South Carolina risked those states, those colonies at the time, leaving their 13 original colonies. Thus, they would not have the requisite manpower to go up against the Crown for independence. Now, admittedly, they didn't to begin with, and it was
like, why my face? Like,
that ultimately
there's so much room to fly around, and it always has to be right in like your eyeball. Those little gnats flying around.
More than that, Quebec was given the offer to join as the 14th
Can't wait till you guys die in the winter.
And it opted not to. Thus, it is a part of Canada.
But yeah, always straight for the eyeball. I don't understand why. It's like everywhere to go, but hey, is that an eyeball? Across the room? I'm gonna head that way.
War in this country. 1820. It didn't happen. It took until 1861, but still what many people don't realize is the Bleeding Kansas period, which was a 7-year period before the beginning of the Civil War.
I gotta find this goddamn thing and just be on my way.
Abolitionist and pro-slavery forces were massacring each other. The war was happening. What does
Spending
that mean?
too much time over here. I was here last night.
What we're seeing now, and the points being made by Moon. Good points, by the way. A surface level overview.
I wonder if I click
what you
on
see
it.
is the conversations that are happening now, as he points out the 4% compounding factor, 40% over 10 years. Every year, with this polarization, the likelihood of civil war increases. What you need now is a large group of listless young men with no jobs, no purpose,
oh,
no
is it up
families.
above?
And
Oh
fortunately for us,
my
we don't.
god! You piece of bitch.
That's what's terrifying. Now, we may be, as it is 2025, in a similar situation to the 1820s where the conversation is emerging, but does not.
Oh no, it's following that. God. Oh.
The 1820s and 1861. These were
that is
sovereign
annoying.
states largely viewing themselves as independent nations, part of a union. Thus, their militaries and their constitutions were supreme in their land, and they viewed themselves as unified. In the United States today, I've lived in California,
Oh
Seattle,
my
Denver,
god.
Chicago, Virginia,
Okay.
West Virginia, New York, New Jersey. I've lived
I thought I
all
killed
over
both
the
of
place.
them, and I was gonna have nothing
And I
to
don't
shoot at.
consider myself Illinoisan.
Illinois.
You had your
Illinois.
home, you lived there, and you died there. That is a major difference. One more compounding factor to all of these details is social media. More and more people are online, talking to each other at lightning speed, faster than ever before. So in the 1820s, news traveled by horseback. That meant that you would be sitting on your ranch tending to your chickens and cows, and you wouldn't hear back about whether or not there was an escalation in political violence or rhetoric for months. In fact, it was years, because for the most part, Congress in session, they got to travel back news over whatever Congress was doing, wouldn't even make it to your town for months.
Yeah, you probably have like
Newsmen
no
would
idea what the
bring
fuck's going on.
newspapers from D.C. or New York and travel the country for money to read the news from 3 months ago. That's how news traveled. Get this. When the Declaration of Independence was actually signed,
Where is
one
it?
could argue we call it a revolution. Could have been considered a civil war in a sense that you had under one crown these warring factions, but a revolution in the colonies is a better way to describe it. So the war already broke out, Lexington conquered, and that was a year, just about, before the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Founding Fathers got together and they said, we hereby declare with that Declaration of Independence. It was then put
I
on a vote,
do declare.
and it took like 3 months to make it to England, to Great Britain, to the Crown. Then Parliament and the Crown go over it, and they're like, what's going on? And it took months for a response.
Shut up, William.
That meant they signed it, shipped it off, and said, and now we wait. Not anymore. When the statements are made with lightning precision, everyone knows, which means perhaps in 1820s period, the hyper-escalation of rhetoric and threats of violence is rapidly expanding, much faster than we saw in the 1820s. So perhaps the killing of Charlie Kirk, one could say, this is bleeding Kansas. Could you deny it? Honest question. You've got murders, violence. We have more political murders now than we've had in the past. I've heard the metric is. So I'm not the academic studying all of the political murders. But Stephen Marsh said we are in civil strife, and that was a couple years ago. That is if you have at least 70 political deaths in your country. It's a big country. So maybe that's hard to say. The estimates right now are around 150 political deaths. So, Rudyard Lynch of What If Autist, you were wrong. But close. To be fair, I think he said 1,000. 150 this year so far. What does that really mean? I don't know. Because sometimes when they classify political deaths, they say things like, a racist guy stabbed a black people or something. And you're like, was it really political? But online, the rhetoric is rapidly expanding. Let's continue the video from Moon. And I always want to give a shout out to those that I react to. It's just Moon on YouTube. I recommend you check out the full channel and subscribe to watch his full video. And full credit to Moon. Shout out for your video so far. I think he's done a pretty good job. And let's listen.
It's a lot of shit, but
in the 80s, it was described as one of the largest, most developed and diverse countries in the Balkans. Different ethnic groups lived in the same neighborhoods, went to the same schools, intermarried freely. It had been a functioning multi-ethnic state for decades. Then the economy started falling apart, and by 1991, Slovenia and Croatia were declaring independence. US intelligence predicted Yugoslavia would cease to function as a federal state within a year, and will probably dissolve within 2, and that the violence would be intractable and bitter. Over the next few years, more than 100,000 people were killed, and 2 million were forced to flee their homes. Neighbors who had lived peacefully together for generations started slaughtering each other. And you can question whether America is really comparable to other countries that had civil wars, but the basic pattern is developing. Countries don't usually collapse overnight, they break down slowly, then all at once, especially when foreign hostile countries do everything they can to make sure this happens. And singular violent events are proven to accelerate the trajectory, even in historical events as colossally huge as the fall of Rome and World War I. But here's the thing though, we don't even need to speculate with historical parallels when we can see what's happening right now in America. Since 2024, approximately 2,000 National Guard troops have been deployed domestically. Trump signed an executive order directing the National Guard to create specialized military units to quell civil disturbances in American states.
That's right.
All to be deployed at his command. Retired Major General Randy Manor,
Take
a former
that.
acting
Look
vice
kinda
chief
good.
of the National Guard Bureau, said the administration is trying to desensitize the American people to get used to American armed soldiers in combat vehicles patrolling the streets of America.
Trump is allowed to do this. Trump is allowed to deploy National Guard and even the military. However, they can't enforce local laws. There's a law called Posse Comitatus, which says that you cannot use the military for local law enforcement. However, they can be deployed under the orders of the president. They can protect federal buildings. So they're not enforcing the law, they're just basically doing security. The Insurrection Act allows the president to deploy the military in the event that an insurrection occurs. That's a simple way of putting it. The easy way to put it is, if local laws are not being enforced,
where do I go with
the
this?
federal government can use the military to enforce those laws if Trump declares an insurrection. There are two different versions of the Insurrection Act. One was updated.
Meanwhile, threats and harassment against local officials jumped over the past few years. The Capitol Police said they have more threats against members of Congress in 2024 than ever before, with even 2 attempts against Trump himself, when America was just inches away from Trump being dead. And then we can also look at how this division is affecting the population itself. Recent polling shows 65% of Americans feel exhausted when thinking about politics, 55% feel angry, and only 10% feel hopeful. Most troubling of all, 80% can't agree on basic facts anymore. Most critically, people oppose each other more harshly than ever. 43% of Republicans and 38% of Democrats hold very unfavorable views of the opposing party, up from just 17% and 16% in 1994. And this is where it gets so crazy with Charlie Kirk's assassination. When people live in completely different versions of reality, they start seeing political opponents not as fellow citizens with different views, but as existential threats that need to be taken out. All whipped up and catalyzed by our media environment that has basically created those parallel universes in tangent with social media. Take campus protest events. They regularly turn violent, require riot.
Where am I supposed to bring this?
And move people along. Or the storming of the Capitol or the BLM riots.
Now let's just pause and point out. The storming of the Capitol was one bad thing, and it was a bad thing. But the BLM riots, the college protests, are an ongoing thing for my entire life. In fact, in the 2000s, I was a part of these anti-war protests marching through the streets of Chicago. Everybody was pissed off. Then when Obama got in, they seemed to not really care about the war all that much anymore. Until the crisis happened with financing and housing, then people started to get upset, leading us a couple years later to Occupy Wall Street, for which I was there. I documented it. I filmed it. I live streamed it. There has every year of my life
over there
since I was a young teenager.
I mean, that's the only indicator that I have. I mean,
because you had the Al Gore Bush thing, leftist, liberal protests.
I thought that blew up for a second. I was like,
brothers, they say. I didn't even know about that, to be honest. Now here we are today. The right is not going out in the street engaging in this violence. But that's neither here
Sticky
nor there.
Magazine Day.
The question right now, a good point brought up by Moon. The polarization and the bifurcation. What we are looking at is 2 universes. Both sides seeing each other as an existential threat. And that's true. It doesn't matter what you think is true. It doesn't matter. You know, my favorite example of this is I state all the time what the truth doesn't matter to a hyper-polarized people because they determine what's true from their world. If you grow up and all you see over and over and over again are videos of police brutality, then you believe it's a pervasive problem and it's the worst problem imaginable. If you've never seen those videos, you'd be like, what are you even talking about? So, when you come from a traditional American moral worldview, you're going to say child sex changes are bad. If you come from a progressive, adaptive view built largely on social media algorithms, you're going to say, what's the problem? This is an existential crisis. Because the traditional moral worldview of America, and I'm not even talking about Christian tradition, I'm talking about liberals and Democrats from like 10 years ago, would be you don't give kids sex changes. But now it's become mainstream and pervasive among the progressive left. The traditional American view sees that as an
why don't I mean, like, Borderlands, why don't you guys have just like the nav boy, like I feel like The Witcher had it down. The Witcher was good. From what I remember, it was easy to find things on The Witcher. It was very helpful. It was easy to navigate. You don't have to go to your map every goddamn 2-3 seconds.
Because the worldview of those migrants
it is annoying because it's like you should be able to click on something, you just go straight to it, and it kind of works in this game sometimes, but then like you can't untrack your other missions at times, so it keeps like that nav point is always there.
Politically, your worldview would be marginalized. He didn't want to kill anybody or anything like that. But he certainly would say you can't give kids sex changes, which means if you live in a world where you deem it mandatory, you are facing an existential threat to your ideology. Not to you personally, but that's what they said. They want us to not exist. Respect existence or expect resistance. That's how they played it.
Depending on which news anyone consumes, they see completely different events. And we all know by now how social media and its algorithms play into this, as there's barely any money to be made from nuanced coverage that says this was complicated with multiple factors. Now you need 2 or more sides to contribute to any debate, but a healthy debate needs a middle ground, and that's what America has completely lost, mostly because of the way the media treats issues. And
to exemplify what he's saying, I'm going to show you this post from the Joe Rogan subreddit. This was done intentionally by me, and anybody who follows me on X knows this. You can follow me on X at Timcast. Subscribe to this channel, by the way. At Joe Rogan put, Tim Pool with great takes as always. And it's a tweet from me that says, it should be illegal to not believe in God. It's an archived post. The top comment, this sounds like Sharia law to me. I realized I was being reductive, but I was referring to places where legislation is based on Sharia. I thought that would be implied by context. That's the top comment. The next one says, it should also be illegal to cosplay as a leukemia patient for the better part of 2 decades, but here we are, Tim. The next one says, I would genuinely like to know what his appeal is. He's always complaining about something, blah, blah, blah. Ah, yes, because with every great theologian will tell you that God wants people to be forced to worship him.
I didn't know you lose that if you fall in the water. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on.
People need to understand that since Twitter started paying its users for more views and engagements, Tim Pool has been like this.
How the fuck am I going to do that?
I have always been, I will refrain from swearing, an ish-head who pokes the bear and makes a point. Because I ain't on your team, I ain't on anyone's team.
Oh, God.
See how far you gotta go. It should be
baby.
Stupid, witch god, Pool is perma-mad, the party of freedom.
Lesson learned.
He hates having his freedom. Are there any actual cool conservatives who wear Gen Z? This is pretty good, actually. It's photoshopped me, morbidly obese. I look like one of the Duck Dynasty guys. I actually think that's pretty good. Amazing. This is the bifurcation of social media. Corrupted syntax, finally. He followed up with a tweet saying believing in God should be illegal, which got far less engagement, which no doubt he pointed to saying, see, they hate religion. But he still didn't get it, because I made my point. And actually, I think if I sort by controversial, because that's what Reddit's giving you, you might actually see he's making a joke for F's sake. Yep, that's bait. It's downvoted. Tim Pool tweets are trolls, LMAO. I'm not sure why we're posting a tweet from 6 months ago, but freedom of religion is protected. Blah, blah, blah. He tweeted that right after saying it should be illegal to believe in God. He did this to test the algorithm or something. Correct, but it'll go over everyone's head and they'll only see a surface level and confirm their beliefs with absolutely no hate in their heart. That's right. He isn't in any position to make it happen. Falling for a troll is more shameful. Reddit upvoted. They ignored that 2 tweets were put at the exact same time for the purpose of me saying, this is the point. The left is only going to share what makes them mad and they can use to justify what they want. The same is true largely for the right, but not entirely. The reason why I'm more considered to be aligned with the right is because I'm more willing to tell what's true, and that means when the media lies, I will call it out. When they say the right is more responsible for violence, and I say that's not correct, here's the stats, they go, he's defending the right, therefore he's on the right. But if you live in a world of lies, that's what you'll believe, but none of this matters. You can tell me I'm wrong right now. Say, Tim Pool, you're a liar. You're a conservative and a liar. Fine, I don't care. The fact of the matter is, as it pertains to civil war, both sides refuse to believe what is true or what is not true. Now, I certainly think the right is has a truth, has a right-wing bias. Reality has a right-wing bias. But it's fine if you think I'm wrong. That proves my point. In which case, at least on this point, I am right. The bifurcation is here. I don't know how YouTube's going to deal with it.
Completely dehumanizes those on each side of the political spectrum. And while this isn't exactly new, it's getting so much worse in the last couple of years. And this sort of violence has a nasty habit of snowballing. Take the 2011 shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. Within hours of the tragedy, both political sides were blaming each other's rhetoric for creating the climate that led to the violence. The shooter turned out to be severely mentally ill with no real coherent political ideology, who actually voted for independence, and his friend said wasn't left all right.
Okay.
Didn't stop the blame game for slogging on for weeks.
That's
When
true.
Martin Luther King was assassinated.
That's a really great point. You can look back at those shootings and say it was not politically motivated, but it led to the bifurcation. The rhetoric that Moon was describing on both sides is the conversation that breeds 2 distinct political classes in the younger generation. The older generation is more unified, But as time goes on and they age out, you eventually end up with two distinct universes who see the world in entirely different ways, and that's how you get civil war. Now, it's not always about two groups, mind you. It's about two umbrella factions. Within these factions of moral worldview, you will get distinct and individual groups with slightly different beliefs.
In 1968, things got way worse. Riots erupted in nearly 200 cities within hours. 43 people died, 3,500 were injured, and 27,000 were arrested over 10 days of violence. And the significance of this, though, is that 3 TV networks basically told the same story to the whole country. People could disagree about solutions while agreeing on basic facts. But America no longer has that luxury anymore, as we can quite clearly see from the world's reaction to Kirk's assassination. It's a horrifying thing to see because back in 2021, MIT researchers working with the Club of Rome updated their modeling and found that we were on track for, quote, the terminal decline of economic growth within the coming decade. In 2022, they put out the latest study called Earth for All that basically asked what happens if we keep doing what we're doing. And their answer wasn't exactly upbeat. They ran 2 scenarios through 2100. One where we model through too little too late, and one where we actually get our act together. The model through scenario shows well-being dropping by 40% in wealthy countries by the 2050s, with regional societal collapse becoming more likely as social tensions, food issues, and environmental problems start feeding each other. Today we're already half through 2025, and guess which scenario we're following? Yes, it's not the optimistic one. And this is all before just the recent events of the last month. And while plenty of people think that these researchers are just professional pessimists who've been predicting doom for decades, their track record has actually been pretty solid so far. But whether you believe their projections or not, the basic point is that when societies are already stressed on multiple fronts, economically, socially, environmentally, they become way more vulnerable to what researchers call chain reactions of bad events. One bad thing happens, then another, then another. But it's why it's clear that Kirk's assassination seems to be a huge tipping point in America, adding so much fuel to the fire of a country where 80%
It sucks.
agree on the basic facts.
It's like you just know what's around the corner.
Where to be in politics and give your opinions in America means you have a very high chance of being killed. Where our media, politics, and social media all then reward division over unity. Where people are quite literally excited to see their political opponents get taken out. The question isn't really whether America can survive any single political assassination, but whether it can survive becoming the kind of country where political assassinations feel inevitable.
Correct.
Because the most shocking thing about all of this is that not that many people are even surprised. It almost just felt like something like this would happen, and it probably will continue to do so.
No. Maybe for him, you know, maybe that's what he thought. None of us thought that Charlie would be killed like this.
This'll be easy.
I've done events. We were going to do an event, and with all the security threats that I've faced, I never thought this was possible. And it is very strange, even right now. It is difficult to believe. Perhaps I'm still in denial. I mean, like, logically, I get it. Charlie's gone. But it feels impossible. For the longest time, I've been warning about the threat of civil war. That the escalation we've seen from street violence would make its way to the highest level of politics. And in 2018 and 19, they told me I was crazy. And I didn't understand how they could.
They just got poetry. What is this shit?
Two distinct moral universes. They were growing. They were expanding. They were young. And eventually they found their way into politics. I said, sooner or later, this will reach the highest level of politics. They said, you're crazy. I was told the security state would never allow a civil war. Doesn't matter if it's the left or right fighting in the street. What people didn't understand was that I could see it at the grassroots ground level. I have been covering all of this violence for so long that there is a left and a right that completely have different views of what is even true.
True, yeah, it's realities. Yeah, it's different realities at this point. That's why it's not just different opinions about how we should go about things. It's just different realities. And that's why it's like we will never come together. And I hate saying that because I want to be optimistic and more like hopeful. And I don't want to sound like an ass, but I don't see any coming together because, yeah, the left just doesn't see reality in an objective manner anymore. And because of that, it's like you can't, there's no coming to a middle ground because the middle ground doesn't even exist.
No 2 + 2 does not equal 5, but that was never the point.
Yeah, and it's like you want to be good with them, but they don't exactly want to be good with you.
And why they're right.
They basically want power and dominion over you.
You may be saying this can't be reality.
Like, no, that's you. You want it over them. It's like, I want nothing to fucking do with them. But they want all the authority, and they want to just completely revamp this country. It's like, nah, I'm good on that. Libertarians just want none of that. And I'm not even really a libertarian. I don't even know what the fuck I am.
Get out of the cult.
I thought I was a liberal.
I'll make it simple for you.
Not a conservative. Like, I have conservative values, I have libertarian values, and I have liberal values. I just have all of the above. But absolute on every side, I think, is dangerous.
They also make the argument that
And it has its flaws, for sure. Because even with libertarianism, there is a point of being like, whoa, wait, that doesn't work.
But 5 now, because they form a cube unto themselves. Therefore, when it's a lie, intentionally breaking apart or tricking, like 4.2, if you're doing 2.25, oh, I'm sorry, 1.25.
I'm in the thing, right? Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty big radius.
1.25, you get 5. That's the cube argument. We have language to describe this phenomenon. There is no circumstance in which you will write 2 + 2 = 5. But that's the world we live in. And they'll tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
My friends, I don't
2
know
2 + 2
if
can
civil
equal
war
5.
is going to happen.
No, it can't.
It is a bold
If it's
statement
2 and it's 2,
from the moon
it
to say
equals
why
4.
it will. Interesting, nonetheless. He makes a good point, and I'm afraid that he's actually correct. In my heart of hearts, I am taking every precaution as if
I think what they're trying to say, though, is just like, well, it could be like 2.5 and 2.5. That would actually be 5. Or it could be 2.3 and 2.4, and we could round up, and that would be 5. So technically, it does equal 5, because you need to round up in a lot of situations. And it's like, yeah, but that's not 2 then. It's 2.3 and 2 point whatever, 2.4. It's like, that's not the same. 2 point, yeah, 2 point whatever is not the same as 2, 2.0.
I'm living good out here in the boonies.
Yeah, and they want to make math subjective, which math is like one of the eternal, like, objective sciences. You can't mess with it. You can't make it subjective. But they're trying.
And I can drive basically anywhere.
And it's not even that they're trying, they're pretending. It's trying is not a good, it's not an accurate term. They're pretending. And they're trying to get everybody else to pretend, just like every other thing they do in that ideology. It has to be pretend.
So why not? And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope one day people look back and they laugh and say, that guy thought that was going to happen? He was crazy. Unfortunately, I think we're on a track everybody kind of recognizes. I'll leave it there. Smash that like button. Share this show. Welcome to the new @TimPool channel. Reactions, commentary. Less newsy, but this one was pretty newsy. I can't help it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.
Yeah, it's just, ugh.
A few months ago, Charlie Kirk engaged in a debate with the man who would later celebrate his death.
This is the man who is due to be the president of an association that is committed to free speech.
And this is not just a man who's seen him online. He's debated this man. He's spoken to this man.
I noticed something that I had not seen before.
I never went to university. I take that as a great compliment. So therefore, everyone who went to university should be able to run circles around me. You'll be the judge, but I'll do my best.
Spoiler alert, they are not able to run circles around Charlie. It's the
That's
exact
awesome.
opposite.
That's such a flex. You should be able to run circles around me.
Is on this side for you. Education is on this side.
Yeah, when that lady said that, I was like, oh, you're an idiot.
And Charlie
You're an
Kirk brought
idiot.
that place down to its knees. It's been in the news
Yep.
because of the head of its debate
Just
society, these comments he made.
Including Charlie
made him
Kirk
look like
of
Pee Wee
Shop,
football.
Let's Effing Go, and here he is
It was
promoting
sad. They were like, we're the best of the best. And it was like, they couldn't even, like, they had nothing. Literally nothing.
Can be required other than violent retaliation.
When is that warranted?
It was almost like they had to like calculate each thing he was saying before they could even like come up with a response, and their responses were so half-baked.
The view that some institutions are too broken, too aggressive, too oppressive to be reformed.
He's aiming at his own society, here and now.
Like cancers of our society,
Am I
they
going the wrong
must
way?
and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
Any means necessary would logically include violence. People are like, how is this the guy in charge of open debate at Oxford?
This house believes
Oh, this
that Trump has
this
gone
guy?
too far.
Okay.
His rhetoric has deepened hostility among family, friends, and everyday people, making Americans who once saw family and community see enemies.
I now look to Laura Smith to close the case for the proposition.
So this professor stands up and delivers her opening monologue, and then Charlie has a chance to counter it. And this is what it looks like when we cut the two statements side by side. Charlie just...
Fentanyl. It's racing across the border. We gotta stop it. It's dangerous. How much fentanyl comes across the Canadian-US border? 0.01%. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Less than 0.01% comes across the US-Canadian border.
You sure about that?
That the Canadian border was closed.
I know it's
fentanyl
not
and
nearly as
the amount of
much,
terrorists
but
that are coming
you
across the
sure
Canadian
about
border,
that?
Of which the most terrorists that come into
Yeah.
America
You
come
sure
across
about
the
that?
Canadian border on the terrorist watch list.
Yeah, notice she just left out the whole portion about terrorism.
Finally, Professor, you never heard of it in South Africa. Interesting. You never heard of that.
Her face here, she's trying to act more confident than she is, but notice her starting to drink water here because she's feeling the heat.
Another really interesting thing I find about Donald Trump
Is
is
pompousness.
use of power and deportation
It's
and
like
immigration
until you
policies
just
created
call out
a
the most
crisis.
basic things that they're
He seems to
saying.
be really fixated on a potential genocide in South Africa against white South Africans. Nobody else has really heard of this.
Yeah. Nobody's heard of this?
White South Africans, no thank you. You'll get your chance, Mr. Kirk.
You're a
Yeah.
political science professor at Oxford. This is someone who's willing to make
Yeah.
claims about Donald Trump lying about South Africa without even taking the time to research what is happening in South Africa.
You never heard
It's
of it
a
in South Africa.
just a
Interesting.
quick
You
search.
never heard of that. The fact that a
That's a
major
big one,
political party
too.
in South Africa says, quote, kill the Boers, kill the Boers. I would expect more of somebody who wrote a dissertation and teaches here at Oxford to say that you would not
Oxford,
know about the
yeah.
attempted slaughter and genocide of white
That's why
South
it's a joke.
Africans.
So now let's look at this.
You're doing less work than I would.
Charlie did stand
And I did
across the
very
table
little
from
work
this
in
guy.
college. I will admit that.
This generation of Lost Boys as a
I should have done
failure of,
more.
let's say, masculinity.
But then I
There's
see
an
this and
irony
I'm
here.
like,
This
well,
is
what's the
especially
point?
Difficult to watch because in this debate,
'Cause
Charlie is fighting.
If you guys
for
aren't
men
worth
just
it,
like the
then
guy
why should I try to
who
excel
didn't
in an
know it.
institution that is just a joke?
Any other reasons as to why this generation of Lost Boys might
It's like,
exist?
oh yeah, unless it was for my own enrichment. Just being like, hey, I actually worked hard on that paper and I did a good job.
I've seen Charlie do this so many times when someone asks
And
him a
it
question,
probably, and if you did a good job on it, you really tried your hardest, and you like did honest work, you'd probably get an F in these days. That's where the indoctrination comes in, is because they fail you if you actually do honest work.
As we get more evidence, it seems to be indicating that the guy who killed Charlie Kirk was a young man
Yeah.
captured by an ideology.
That was one of the things that Charlie always
struggling
asked.
with
It's like, who here
his
feels like
masculinity,
if they're
for sure.
pro-Trump, they get worse grades? And pretty much everybody raised their hand.
Every possible
It's
way,
like,
from the hypermedication of young men, from
if you're at all
in-the-core
conservative
curriculum in
on
America,
campus,
we learn
yeah,
about
you're gonna
toxic
get
masculinity.
So ironic,
basically
because when
looked
we
at
cut
differently.
back to the professor,
It's like when I was at
Charlie
church.
debating the
It's like,
Oxford
oh,
professor,
it's
she was
Nick.
doing just this.
And Andrew
It's
Jackson
that Nick
ignored
guy.
him. Why? Because he was
Some
living
people
in
were
the
cool.
democracy
Some people were
of the
really
white
nice and
man.
welcoming.
The democracy
But
of the
a
white
lot
man,
of them
which is
weren't.
Exactly what
A lot of them were
this
just.
guy is claiming
It's like,
needs
unless
to
you
be
were
burned
Christian,
down
unless you were
by
one of
any
them,
means
you know.
necessary.
That's how it
Thank
was
God
back
we
then.
no
That's
longer live
exactly how the
in
woke,
democracy of
the
man,
woke people
although I
are.
do notice a bit of a gender divide here, which
I
may
told somebody
reflect
that in
the support
2020,
that Donald Trump has and that gender divide of his own.
and he's
We
like,
never
"Oh my
talk
God,
about
you're
toxic
right."
femininity.
It's like,
Do you agree
yeah.
that there's
It's like I
toxic
haven't
femininity
felt
as
this
well?
way since I went to
think it's
church.
a double standard.
It's like this is the only time I've ever been treated like this.
Femininity
Is
not be toxic-
like going through that COVID shit.
I'm not saying they can't be. I think
Do we
they
teach
come-
kids about toxic femininity in our
Can I-
schools?
can I-
No, tell me yes or no.
I mean, I think that they come from two very different places. I think toxic masculinity comes from a level of misogyny, where I think toxic femininity often comes from a reaction
there?
to a misogynistic system which fundamentally oppresses and
Ocha.
systematically oppresses women.
According to his logic, the system must be destroyed.
Some institutions are too broken, too aggressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
It's the conflation of what actually is evil. But you got to be careful about how you direct that aim.
And I'm not saying that toxic femininity is a good thing, but I'm saying it's a much more understood and valid reaction to a system of oppression.
It's not a good thing, but it is understandable because it's fighting back against oppression. Well, where are we seeing that?
Versus toxic masculinity, which oppresses.
Okay, so even if
It's like a standing ovation for that.
Even if I grant you that, are they
Okay.
teaching toxic? Is that term ever been used in a school that you know of?
What term?
Toxic femininity?
No, it's not.
Oh,
No.
that's weird. How does that sound to a dock worker in Brighton or someone in Essex? We need to make things more feminine? No. Instead, we need to restore the balance that God created man and women. And right now, and by the way, you want an example? Adolescence. How does that movie Adolescence not broadly generalize a theme that, first of all, doesn't exist, secondly, is like a slow motion like humiliation ritual for the young boys of Britain?
It's so eerie to hear this now because that's exactly what happened to the guy who killed Charlie.
I don't think adolescence is a generalization. We're not saying that every young boy in the UK is like this. We're not saying every young boy goes through this process. It's an example of what can happen when people fall into this kind of media. I think it's like, and it's more of a story or a warning to what can happen to people that, you know, fall into these bubbles, who don't find the help that they necessarily need, that can turn violent.
The irony is that the reality was the exact opposite to the narrative being pushed in adolescence.
Do you think men will be generally happier if they're married, providing, and have children?
I don't think.
Yes.
I don't think that's a necessary factor to contribute to this.
What is your solution to bring about male happiness in the West? Mine is men get married, have children, and provide. What is yours?
That's a big question.
Just the image here, the juxtaposition.
That's the thing.
could
It's
not
like
be more
when you really dig deep into Charlie's beliefs, it's like they're just straight up. They're straight up. They're conservative.
Their emotions.
There's really, he was a moderate.
apply that to someone who's feeling something invalid.
It's like,
Not
and if
all
you guys are
anger
just,
is good. It's not all malleable.
if you're taking out moderates, like where are we at? Even if you're taking out extremists, it's like, it's still a tipping point.
You've been to London the last 10 years. Men can
But
do whatever they
we're
want.
we're so beyond the point.
Men can dress how they want. Men can act how they want. You can go to any club. Has it worked?
Yeah, but also we've had austerity.
Austerity being similar to poverty, claiming it's economic.
You're scrambling for an excuse to get away from the truth that's right in front of you. So I would just ask you to think over the next couple days, months, or years, why is it that men in countries that barely have toilets and do not have 2 pounds to rub together, but they do have kids and they do have a wife, are much happier than someone with a big flat in downtown London? Something to think about.
I mean, I think happiness is a difficult idea to conflate in that sense. I mean,
Not
there are
with
other
suicide.
duties.
They're less likely to kill themselves. Forget all these happiness indexes. If you kill yourself, you're not happy, right? So these poor countries do not have male suicide problems. Why?
I do not know.
Think about it. Thank you very much.
Just make no mistake, that shooter, in a way, similar to suicide, he was throwing his life away. He might get the death penalty. So it's eerie to see Charlie addressing that very thing directly here, months prior to his death. And standing across from the table is a man who would go on to celebrate his murder.
Was that it? Ah, must have been. What did we get? Huh, I guess that works. Little Michael Mal. Melissa. Oh, God. I'm gonna need a coffee refill.
Good morning, Michael Mellis here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour, guys. You're in for a real treat. One of the few people on the internet with a sharper tongue and quicker mind than myself, Dr. Gad Sad, author of The Parasitic Mind. And Gad, you have a new title, which I am very excited to talk to you about, because you and I have been discussing off air and on air a little bit your attempts to flee what I refer to as the shithole of Canada. I say there's two types of countries on earth, America and shitholes, only half tongue-in-cheek. And now, this is quite wordy, but the visiting scholar at the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom, University of Mississippi. That sounds like a title President Trump would come up with. Is that fair to say?
You know, it's funny you say that. Well, first, it's so good.
It's funny you say that.
For having me on. The first time that title was ever announced was about maybe 10 days ago on Prime Time with Jesse Waters, and you can go and check the clip. As he read the title, he said something to the effect of, "This might be the greatest academic title I've ever heard." So let me tell you, Mississippi is pretty happy that people are loving the title.
Yeah, so let's talk about those circumstances, because I've talked about this a lot. I have been a huge fan of Canada as a New Yorker. Going to Toronto was like visiting a school play version of New York City. There was an earnestness, there was a charm to it. I really enjoyed it immensely. Then I went to Montreal. It blew my socks off. We went back. You know, I do these road trips with my friends. So many wonderful things I could say about the country. And the people. And then COVID hits, and it was some kind of miasma or
very
something
nice.
in the country. Every Canadian I've talked to, I just had dinner the other night with George St. Pierre, Canadian MMA artist, considered one of the best of all time. One of the greatest people, just really cool dude. And I asked him, and I think I've asked this of you as well. How is it that a nation full of frontiersmen in an inhospitable climate becomes so cucked?
Oh, get rid of my gun.
You teach, your evolutionary science. This proves it. Aha! We got you.
It's back to the drawing boards for me. My whole academic career has been a facade. Look, not to forgive me for plugging the books, but the answer to your question is called The Parasitic Mind plus Suicidal Empathy, right? And let me explain for our just to actually be serious. Let me explain what each of those two books cover, because it exactly answers your question of how could Canada become this new version of Canada. The parasitic
Blame Canada.
Happens to our cognitive system when it is parasitized. And so just to explain very quickly what that means. So we are a thinking and feeling animal. So the parasitic mind talks about the thinking part, and suicidal empathy talks about the feeling part. So let's begin with parasitic mind. So if you look at the wood cricket, an actual wood cricket, it abhors water. It doesn't want to jump in it. When it is parasitized, when its mind is actually parasitized by a hairworm, the hairworm needs the wood cricket to jump in water,
thanks.
barely commit suicide.
My battery is low. I actually just changed it about 5 minutes ago.
Of the wood cricket in its service. And so that was my epiphany for using
Telling me
that
now.
model.
Oh, by the way, before you changed them out, they were low. No, they were dead. You liar.
You've seen the videos of the praying mantises being put into water.
Of course.
So for people out there, we'll put up a little picture. You take a praying mantis, which is a very alpha apex predator in the insect kingdom. I've caught one as a pet, and when you make eye contact with that thing, it has an intelligence. It's very disturbing. And people take it. It's got a slender abdomen. They put in water, and all these hairworms come out, and you would think volume-wise it's not possible. It's like CGI. And they keep coming out, and it's to your point that they want to go in the water so they can reproduce. Parasites often have many stages, which evolutionary is just amazing that takes like 5 steps for this thing to reproduce. It's crazy.
Oh, I mean, once you, so I did obviously a big, deep dive into the field of.
I was like, thank you.
So parasitology is simply the study of
nice.
host-parasite interaction. So a tapeworm is a parasite, but
Did I get anything for that?
Parasitizing my intestinal tract. Neuroparasitology is a subfield of parasitology where the parasite needs to end up in your brain, altering your circuitry to suit its interest. So Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite that many people might have heard of, right? The mouse that is infected with that neuroparasite loses its innate fear of cats. It actually becomes sexually attracted to the cat's urine, which is not a really good, mating preference to have if you're a mouse. And so that's what I was doing in the parasitic mind. But then to complete the story of how you have Canada going from what it used to be to what it is now, for me to fully parasitize you, I have to not only hijack your cognitive system, but your emotional system. So our emotions have evolved to solve very specific evolutionary problems. So the reason why we have romantic jealousy, for example, so for example, men experience great sexual territoriality, it's because we are afraid of paternity uncertainty, right? We are a biparental species. I don't want to spend the next 18 years raising a kid that turns out to be sired by my gorgeous gardener, and therefore we evolved the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral systems to thwart that problem. In this case, I get very, very jealous and angry if my wife is talking too long and a gorgeous guy is touching her in a party. Okay? Well, but there are many other emotions and virtues that we have, each of which has a clear evolutionary reason for why it exists in that form. So now let's take empathy. Empathy is a perfectly beautiful thing. There are very clear evolutionary reasons why a social species would have evolved empathy. For you and I to have a meaningful conversation, Michael, I need to put myself in your mind and you in mine. That's called theory of mind. By the way, autistic children don't have theory of mind. The way that we establish that they are autistic, we give them a theory of mind test, which they very predictably fail. There is no blood test to check for autism, but there is a theory of mind test. So a lot of
That's interesting.
Ask them if they would vote Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian. 100% accuracy rate.
That is exactly right, and that's why, of course, I refer to AOC as occasional cortex. Although apparently Michael Savage might have beaten me to that term, although I did come up with that term independently of him. So you're exactly right. Maybe just give them pictures of Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, and if you vote the wrong way, you're an autistic degenerate.
Wait, so can I tell you something about Michael Savage? This is one of the funniest. You're gonna love this story, I promise, and the viewers. I had someone in the audience in the comments yelling at me for years.
Occasional cortex.
Let's say like 5 years. That how could I have been so mean to Rush Limbaugh, and you went after Rush Limbaugh?
Oh, it's right there, right in front of my face.
I didn't remember this at all. I had very positive opinions about Rush Limbaugh. Certainly, when I was in high school, he was very influential in my thinking. And mocking someone dying of cancer is really not my thing. But he was so insistent. I'm like, maybe he remembered, maybe some joke that didn't land, and he's just yelling, and he's like, when will you apologize? And I'm thinking like, whatever. And someone replies, he is thinking of Michael Savage. And the guy pulls up the quote, and when Rush Limbaugh confessed his cancer diagnosis, revealed, not confessed, Michael Savage was like, stop crying, you pussy. Just really below the belt nasty stuff. And understandably, someone was quite offended by it. My God, guy's dying of cancer. This is your moment to take a shot. And it was Michael Savage. And he felt so stupid, this poor boomer. And he's like, I'm so sorry, there's nothing I can say. So whenever I hear Michael Savage's name, I have to think of that story.
Why? I mean, morphologically, I mean, you're both irreverent, you're both...
Savage Malice.
Fee, fi, fo,
Oh,
fum.
that sense. Okay, I thought that somehow morphologically...
I smell
Oh, it's the name. Okay, wow.
the fingerprints of scum.
Isn't that amazing?
That is incredible.
Can I? Oh wait, no. I bet you I could. If I could just. Can I climb up from?
You're talking about AOC and autistic children here.
Yeah. Okay. So
Occasional cortex.
when properly regulated, when it activates within the adaptive norms, is a
What's this?
perfectly beautiful thing, right? I want my physician to be empathetic. I want my veterinarian to be empathetic. I want my spouse to be empathetic. Marriages where both man and wife in this case, are empathetic, and so therefore it's birds of a feather flock together, are more likely to stay together. So there are endless reasons why empathy is beautiful. But like Aristotle explained to us, Michael, 2,000 plus years ago, all good things in moderation, everything in the right time and the right amount onto the right target. So what happens with suicidal empathy is that it is completely dysregulated in several ways. It is hyperactive and it targets the wrong person, right? So MS-13 gang member is more worthy of my empathy than the American vet, right? And so what I basically do in that book is I go through all sorts of both domestic and foreign policies that have led the West down the abyss of infinite darkness, and I show that they all stem from this dysregulated empathy.
Did it just
And
blow
so
up on
now
me?
to kind of wrap it up to your question, while Canada is stage 4 suicidal empathy. It's not stage 1, it's not stage 3, it's full-blown pancreatic cancer.
Well, let me ask this: is it? I mean, maybe this is being pedantic, but I still, as someone who's a scientist, I think you'd appreciate that. Is it actual empathy? Because I feel like these people who advocate these policies don't really even genuinely want to understand how these people they're advocating for view things through the world and feel. They just see themselves as these kind of white knights, and I'm going to speak for them, and they're all angels, and they're just like you and me, but they just wear different clothes. And there's very little understanding of who they're advocating for when push comes to shove.
So I think there's both. So there is the full suicidal empathy manifestation.
I just wanted to do it.
But then there is the truly, genuinely bathing in. And I'll give you an example.
I wonder if you can jump in from right there.
Name, but there is
I bet you could.
a service provider.
But I'm not going that way, so.
She's a physiotherapist. I hope she doesn't watch this show.
Oh, wait.
I recently had some knee issues, and so I went to see her. And she's a lovely woman, very liberal. She votes for the Liberal Party in Canada. She's very empathetic. And so at one point, as she's doing some ultrasound stuff on my knee, she goes, "Oh, so what? Are you working on any current books?" I said, "Yeah, I'm currently working on a book." I explained suicidal empathy and so on. And she says, "Well, give me an example of that." So I said, "Well, for example, having a completely orgiastic open border policy when it comes to immigration would certainly be a manifestation of suicidal empathy, especially when you're arguing that all immigrants are equally likely to assimilate and provide some method." Exactly. And so she kind of pauses, and I figured that she was going to be unhappy. And I said, you seem unhappy with my explanation. What's happening? She goes, "Well, I think that everybody deserves the right. Like, there's nothing special about us that," I'm paraphrasing her words, obviously. "There's nothing that, why do we get to benefit from Canada, but other people don't get to benefit from that?" I said, but what do you mean? I mean, so what would that mean then? I live in a house, there are homeless people. So why don't they? I have sexual access to my wife. There are a lot of sexually frustrated people, right? Life is unfair. And she's like, "No, I think all of those people were perfectly vetted. They don't pose a risk. Everybody was," and so that she wasn't trying to signal to me. She truly was bathing in the infinity pool of suicidal empathy.
Yeah, I read. Do you know who Diana?
Infinity pool. That's a good way to put it.
Maybe I know of her, but
Gad is really good with terminology.
She is
He knows how to explain things in just a few words.
So she was first elected in 1987 to the House. She's the longest serving House female, so she's mother of the House. Once she went to vote, and she had two different shoes on, and they were both the left shoe. So this is the level we're talking. I'm not joking. And they said it was photoshopped at first, that kind of level. Wow. Just no one's home. And of course, I just recently read her memoir, and she explicitly said, there can never be too many migrants because they're just trying to look for a better life. Now, that's factual, right? If I'm in some shithole and I get to go to England, and for free I get housing,
Oh,
food
and
with
my
Netflix, and they
camera
get their
froze again. When did that happen?
Yeah, it is better for me than pretty much anywhere else on earth. So she's not incorrect, but at what cost? And to me, I said this to my friends in the UK. It exactly was this is why I wanted to have you on. It is suicidal empathy to have. I'm a migrant
try this again.
who just hopped across the English Channel, and I have
Oh,
it
that's
better
my
than
screen.
poor
Oh
people
man, my
in the
poor
UK.
screen.
That is putting others over your own.
That's not
and
good.
It was I couldn't even wrap my head around
It works.
Like I can understand. Okay, give them
Much
some
better
food
position than
and
what I was like
shelter
10 years
and
ago.
human beings, maybe. And I could
Just work
understand.
playing on this.
Poland, people are fleeing Ukraine
My friend's
because they're getting
laptop that would
bombed.
overheat,
Okay,
so
we're
we
not
had to
gonna
put
just
ice
put them in
packs
a ditch. I
underneath
can
it.
wrap my head
And
around
then
that.
we didn't have
Temporary
ice pack. We didn't have
situation.
enough ice packs
But these people
to
are
like
crossing the channel from France.
to be using them, and then like freezing them, and then using them again, and then freezing them because we're playing all day. So we busted out
I'll blow your mind even more than that. I was
what was it?
talking to
Frosting, frosting
where I
packs
was
because they
trying
were
to,
frozen.
you know,
and then
challenge them on sort of their suicidal
those would heat up.
stance. And I said, okay,
I feel like at
I
some point one of them
understand
like
that people
split and like there was like a little bit of frosting underneath the laptop.
success. But let's take, for example, something.
So those
that,
were the days.
Seems to be.
I mean,
although some people
this is
disagree
a
about
janky
that.
setup that I got
Intelligence,
going right
some
now,
people
but
are more
it
intelligent
works.
than
So
others. We know that there will be downstream effects on how you score on intelligence. in your
just for the
capacity to
meantime,
be
this was just
profession
temporary.
A, B, or C.
My last place,
Do
I
you
had a good
think
setup.
that is unfair, or is that
I
part of
didn't
the natural
utilize it
order of
enough.
things?
That was my
She said,
problem.
no,
So I was
that is
just busy with
absolutely
work.
unfair. The person who is less intelligent.
Realistically, though,
choose to be less
that I'm just
intelligent, right?
giving myself an excuse.
so then
I
she
wasn't that
literally
busy
is
with work.
arguing
I could have
that
been using
the
that stuff more. I
natural
didn't have enough
assortment
direction
in
as far as where I
nature,
wanted to go with stuff.
because it is inherently
It's like I was too
unfair
scattered.
in
I wanted to
not
do too much
producing
all at once,
identical clones,
and it sucked.
there must be some
It
mechanism
really sucked trying to
that-
consolidate everything
that solves that problem. That's suicidal
because I
empathy.
had to basically
it's
pick
going-
and
I bet you
choose,
took
and I
one
had
step
to
further
eliminate things
because
that
you would
I
say,
wanted to do,
even
but
if
I'm
you
like, you
did
don't have
make
the you don't have the
choices,
time
like
to
I
do
made choices that hurt
everything.
my life and you made the correct choices,
And you want to
well,
do
I
things
couldn't have
good,
known
so you don't want to do
because of X,
everything
Y,
and
and
have
Z.
everything
So
subpar
and this is just John Rawls.
because that's all you
So
have the
for
time
people who
for,
don't
type
know,
thing.
Go read John Rawls. It's one of
Okay,
the
let's
dumbest-
see.
One of the things. Okay, it's dumb and smart at the same time because it's dumb because if you sit down and think about it, it's ridiculous. But it's smart that it gives a rationalization for this extreme egalitarianism. And John Rawls posits the view like if you were about to be born, right, and you have, what kind of world would you like? And he's like, we would all like to be
Where's
in a world
this
where we all have like an
deadbolt
equal shot at success. And the point is, no, you're just talking about risk-averse people because there's plenty of people who would say, I'd rather have that 1 in 10 shot of being gad sad and 9 in 10 that I'm a rando, as opposed to equal shot at anything. So it's
You
very
serious?
just based.
I think it is up
psychological
above.
thing, and it completely falls apart in many other ways as well. He also says that like if rich people like better things, like I can't even get into it.
Well, you're removing personal agency. I mean, imagine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What could be worse than an attack on human dignity than to say that anywhere that I end up ultimately can't be due to my personal agency? Like, right. I remember I had a very pretty girlfriend when I was about 20 or 21 years old. We had met in the summer. I think this is the first time I ever tell that story publicly. Oh. We had met that summer at some nightclub, and I wasn't much of a nightclub guy. But then when school started again, and therefore I have to be studying for my differential equations exam and my artificial intelligence exam, I was no longer as interested in hanging out at the nightclub, and I ended up splitting with her because I took the very difficult decision that she was gonna bring me down. And a 20 or 21-year-old guy who has access to a really gorgeous girl, that takes a lot of discipline. Well, I want credit for that, right? It was my personal agency, right? And so, no, it's not. John Rawls is not going to remove that from my sphere.
Guys, traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat, and it can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses, and it is just gross. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, antibacterial bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry. These fabrics were inspired by NASA, so they're thermoregulating and they're designed to keep at the perfect temperature all night long, and they're infused with silver, which prevents bacterial growth. No more gross odors, except for you. You know who you are. Miracle Made sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Stop sleeping in bacteria. It can clog your pores. It can cause breakouts and acne. So sleep clean with Miracle Made sheets. You can upgrade your sleep. Go to trymiracle.com/malice to try Miracle Made sheets today. And if you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, 40% off. And if you use our code MALICE,
Pot profit.
you get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. But wait, there's more. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/malice. Use code MALICE. Get your free 3-piece towel set. Save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/malice to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the show. So one of the things I'm very curious about is you are one of the best
Bubble
people out
Boss.
there at taking complex scientific ideas and bringing in examples, having this wealth of knowledge, and breaking down in ways that anyone can understand. Like, is this a function of being an academic and teaching all the time? Like, how did you learn how to be so articulate?
What a lovely question. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. No, I don't think it's a function of being an academic. I think academics actually exhibit the opposite pattern, which is, which by the way is one of the reasons why most of them are very much stay in your lane, right? They know a lot about organic chemistry, but they can't come on Michael Malice's show and actually be interesting
Hit me.
about history or about
Give me them goldies.
Cortez, because they know a lot about one thing. So no, I really think it's, if I were to try to identify an innate quality that I have that allows me to do what you said, well, there are two, I think. Number one, it's I have a very synthetic mind. By synthetic,
Harry
means
Potter
that
prophet.
I try to find synthesis across domains.
Oh,
And it really
is anybody on right now?
reasons why
We
E.O.
be
Wilson,
better doing
the
this
Harvard biologist,
dumb
is
shit
one of
with
my
somebody else,
favorite
not just.
intellectuals. He recently
Oh, I
passed
got
away.
something shooting at
I
me.
greatly regret I never had a chance
I'm
to have
playing
him
on.
the show and so on. He wrote a book in the late 1990s.
All right,
Michael,
that's fine.
Called consilience. Consilience is a word that very few people know. It refers to unity of knowledge. So when you say, for example, that physics is more consilient than sociology, it's because physics has some, a tree of knowledge.
No, buddy,
where
it's
there's
probably
an
too early.
organized,
8:30.
coherent set of core facts that we agree on.
Yeah,
So
it's
he
probably
was trying to
still a
argue
little early.
that there is a way by which we can create consilience across the natural
I'll just go
sciences
ahead and
the social
join.
sciences and the humanities, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Well, when I read consilience, I said, wow, he is articulating exactly how my mind works. That's why I am a natural interdisciplinarian. Now, in academia, they would tell you to do exactly the opposite of what my career is. You publish in these 4 journals, and you never deviate from it. Whereas I've published in medicine and in politics and in marketing and in advertising and in evolutionary theory because I'm just a child who's curious about all sorts of intellectual landscapes. So I think that's the first issue. The second one I would say is I think I have sort of analogical reasoning on overdrive. So whenever I'm trying to explain something, I always look for an analogy that demonstrates that point. And there are a few scientists that one can think of, Kepler would be one, where they used analogical reasoning to arrive at a big breakthrough. So I think if I take those 2 qualities and then apply them, that's how I end up with the kind compliments that you gave me.
Well, speaking of academia,
Yeah, don't mess around with me.
I'm so happy that you're making
My
this
bite.
transition and coming to the States. You and I have been talking about this for a long time. I felt with great confidence, I know you somewhat well, that this was something you would not regret. So can you please tell, now we're going to have to deport you because we're full, so get the F out. Go back to where you came. But for now...
Like Lebanon or Canada?
We'll figure where you said
Lebanon?
with the father of the year.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to call ICE as soon as this interview wraps. Please tell viewers the circumstances, major life change.
Thank you so much for that question, Michael. So as of a couple of weeks ago, I'm at University of Mississippi at the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of Academic Freedom, not American freedom, as you mentioned. But although part of American freedom is to have academic freedom.
That's true.
So maybe it's not such a bad thing that I mixed up the two terms. Unbelievable place. So last February, well, it actually started a few months earlier. I received a message from someone said, "Hey."
Oh my God, is this one of those where you gotta like carry it for a
And we did, and then they said, "Hey, why don't you come down to Oxford, Mississippi?"
I'm not a fan of these guys.
I mean, of course, I knew about Ole Miss and so on, but you know, I'm like, is this?
Nobody wants to run. Why? Like maybe like one or two of these missions, but like the fact that I've come across many.
Gorgeous town, very literary.
It's like nobody wants to just run.
Is there? So they, you know, in the central.
So are you guys that lazy coming up with missions?
Maybe 4 or 5 bookstores, including.
Two, it was so diverse. Like every mission was different.
I think I'm home, and then
there's all sorts of just different missions. Like
and a deputy director, or
I think the writers are just fucking lazy.
I met those two guys. I was like, oh my God, right? I mean, real academics, very interested in just discussing ideas. Nothing is off the table. And I thought, and I walked around the campus. Everybody seemed happy. People didn't seem to be confused by who is male, who is female. I thought maybe this is the place for me. And so they made me an offer, and here I am.
Well, can we talk a little bit about the backstory? Because not telling tales out of school, pun intended, you and your university were not exactly best friends. You saw, I'm sure, even have more information than I do, what they were trying to do to Jordan Peterson in Canada's collegiate system. I think people don't appreciate.
What the fuck? It was just saying go that way. You guys saw that. It was just saying go that way. That's why I hate these nav points. Give me the orange. I trust the orange. I don't trust the white.
Isn't in line with their very specific ideology. You are a problem. No matter how much your students like you, no matter how much they go on to succeed, you're a problem for the university, and they will do everything they can, especially little passive-aggressive BS things, to make sure you know it. So, insofar as you could discuss that, which led you to go to Mississippi, I'm sure that would be edifying.
Excuse me for my cough. I have a bit of a cold. Maybe you'll edit it out.
You're allergic to the truth.
Exactly. Look, there are several factors that were problematic at my university, and some you might expect.
Where is it taking me?
Let me kind of cover the wide panoply while trying to stay as diplomatic and notable as I can.
God said diplomat. That's the career path for you.
There you go. Look.
Okay, I'm just following my map. I'm not following that nav.
Wokified. I mean, really, well beyond
I'm over it.
What even someone like you, who very much understands the ecosystem, might expect. So I'll give you a few examples. A few years ago, one group of researchers at my university won a huge government grant, like equivalent to, say, the National Science Foundation in the U.S., where the grant objective of the grant was to decolonize light, right? So
light,
the physics of light, the physics of optics, right?
Decolonize it.
Well,
obviously white people.
Who are the ones who are famous for the physics of light? They're all white men.
Yeah. I was gonna say anything decolonizing, it just means get rid of white people.
It's cited in one of my papers. One of my recent academic papers, I also.
It's a nice way of saying we just want to eliminate white people from this space.
Paid a lot of money to decolonize light, which effectively means to incorporate indigenous ways of knowing in the study of light, because because whatever we know about light so far,
it's only been from white people,
if not tainted knowledge, because of the dermatological hue of the physicists.
It's so funny how that it's not funny because it's dangerous and it's psychotic and it's demonic, honestly, once you really get down to its core, because it's nothing but blame and guilt.
For a lot of us
And
out here, I mean, this sounds like even worse than those things that James Lindsay and Helen Plumrose or Pluckrose, whatever her name was.
Pluckrose.
It's off the chart. I remember when I was in college, and I took economics.
That one
101.
is
I had
pretty
to take
wild.
for my major, I was a business major, Bucknell, and my professor, I forget her name. I remember what she looks like, a gray-haired woman, middle-aged, and it turned out she was a Marxist. You wouldn't have known it. You would have thought she was like a left. She did not really come off that way, and part of her feminist Marxism was the idea that since the laws of economics were discovered by men, they were inherently sexist and have to be rediscovered by women. Now, I don't know how having a vagina affects supply and demand, maybe in the bedroom, and certain, as of, you understanding evolution, you can talk about supply and demand in that context, eggs versus sperm. One is a much
Actually, that's exactly where I would have talked about it. Beautiful.
Right, but the law does not change. It's the same, whether you're the supplier or the demander. So, and the rainbow flag, light is composed of the rainbow, so it's very LGBT friendly.
That's pretty funny. That's a good call. I didn't even think of that.
Are you
the rainbow.
on some level like,
Well,
at least
that's
they're
the
getting
spectrum of
creative.
light.
I wish I could be that charitable. All I get
That's
is my blood
funny.
pressure spiking up and saying I need to get the hell out of there. I will end at the end by actually saying something complimentary about my university, not because I want to be diplomatic, but because I just want to be fair and I'm truthful.
Yeah.
So let's start with the negative stuff.
Stick to the
So
course
we've got-
or
we- so we have a project on
brisket for the
decolonizing
biscuit and
life.
just try to set this
Last
down
year,
and try to come
there
back to
was
it.
a one-day
It'll still be there,
scientific
right?
Symposium on
It better be.
menstrual
I'm gonna set it right here.
and the abstract of the
Okay,
conference,
you
of
right
the-
there,
not
buddy.
conference, symposium, one day symposium, is that because menstruation is a human right.
How long is it gonna
Because
stay
the
there? I mean, I can kill this guy
170
real quick,
people that have thus
but
far existed on Earth,
it's a good
that
question.
knew that
Let's go, bud.
There is one sex that menstruates and not the other. That was antiquated science. So now we have to have a one-day scientific symposium on menstrual equity. And all this is
See how it
it's
is.
not-
Just
it's
knock
not
me right out of it.
being
That would have sucked if it
hyperbolic or
disappeared
it's
and I got knocked
not
out of that.
satire. This is real stuff, right? I mean, I've got the reference for it. Okay.
I would
Now
have
I'm
been
kind of curious because
angry.
many juvenile females don't menstruate, and after menopause, obviously women don't menstruate. So you're not even going to have equity within.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't shoot at me,
I'll
guys.
give you another example.
Just gonna get
When you
hucked
become
with the chuck.
anorexic, you experience what's called menarche, or in French you say, it's the
Hucked with the chuck, dog.
It's the shutting off of your menses, right? So you have primary amenorrhea, which is you're a young girl that
I
is
heard
yet
everything you
to
said.
have your menstrual cycle, and it is delayed because you don't have enough fat reserves. Or more typically, you've already been menstruating, you're 19 years old, and now you become anorexic, and that's called secondary amenorrhea. It stops your menstrual cycle.
Yeah, gymnasts have that too.
Exactly. Gymnasts have. So it's usually when you get below a certain fat level, it shuts off your reproductive system. And there's very interesting evolutionary
Don't use the Navnik.
arguments for
Straightforward.
why that happens. Okay, but leave it aside.
This might be
So,
right.
decolonized light, menstrual equity, but now I left you the last one.
Oh no.
Okay, you ready?
No, I don't think I am. Because wait, I'm not ready because we haven't resolved two. What is equity? What does menstrual equity look like?
So menstrual equity,
Yeah.
for example, there are men who menstruate,
Okay.
right? And therefore, when you have feminine hygiene products,
This is where I
they
threw it in
should
the canyon.
also be in all of the bathrooms on campus, and so on and so forth, right? Okay. You ready? Your blood
Now I'm
pressure,
ready.
okay?
Now I'm ready.
120 over 80, you're good? Okay, here we go. So in our 5-year strategic mission plan, university every 5 years, it sort of does a reflection. It comes out with, here is our
He doesn't
next
have a
5
strong
year
enough
plan.
arm, man. I don't trust it.
Exactly.
She,
Number
yeah,
one,
she's got a
except
weak ass
crazier than
arm.
Stalin.
Yes.
Number one, the most important thing moving forward.
You guys ready for this?
Is to
I'm gonna attempt to throw it
decolonize
midair.
and indigenize the entire curriculum and pedagogy. So what does that mean? I am a pure mathematics professor.
Beautiful.
How do you
Beautiful.
indigenization and
Nicely
decolonization in the
executed.
study of the distribution of
Give me
prime
that.
numbers? In my case, I teach
That was
evolutionary
clean. I had to
psychology,
think about it. I was like, jump,
psychology,
glide, throw,
psychology of decision making.
grapple.
How do I indigenize and decolonize that? Now, they're not putting a gun to your head and saying, show me, although they almost do, because you have to kind of submit a progress report and so on. So I thought, wait a second. Of course, I'm not going to play along. So what's going to happen? There's no way I'm going to try to incorporate indigenous thinking into understanding how sexual selection and natural selection creates, our adaptations. So that would have been another problem I faced at Concordia. Now, you might say, well, but that's true at many Canadian universities. Yes, although Concordia is very much woke central, but now we come to the second problem, which in a sense could be related to wokeism, but not quite. The orgiastic debauchery of Jew hatred.
Okay.
It is astounding. Okay. So in 2002, well before people knew the term cancel culture, Benjamin Netanyahu had tried to come and speak at Concordia. At the time, actually, I was a visiting professor at University of California, Irvine, so I wasn't on campus. But in 2002, 23 years ago, the dynamics at Concordia were such.
So it wants me to go up there,
the
right?
Prime Minister of Israel could be shut down, and they did. Now, that is
Fuck
due
them
to
now
two
for a second.
factors. It's due to the wokeism, right? You could be Joe Smith and you hate the Jews and the Zionists, but it also comes from a demographic reality in Quebec that has resulted in the society getting Islamized at a breathtaking pace, right? And now the question becomes, well, why?
Can I
is
even
that?
get?
There are several reasons, but one of them,
I bet you I could from
it
right
sounds
there.
as though I'm going to be
Let's see.
facetious and I'm joking, but I really am not. So Quebec, the biggest threat that Quebec society faces is the eradication of the French language, right?
This?
Yes.
It starts with one missed bill, then another. Now it's
You
called to ignore.
Malice, you
envelopes
piece
don't
of
open.
shit. You go right into an ad.
Debt doesn't
I didn't
knock
even hear what he
you
said
down
because I was
more.
talking like an
PBS
ass.
Debt helps you fight back. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people break free. This is your shot. Take it before debt takes everything. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money where it belongs in your
Nope.
pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've got thousands of
How
five-star
about
reviews
that?
on
Can I
Google,
make that?
5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. This could be you. I used to have debt.
Oh,
and let me
okay.
tell you, it is awful.
To start?
Because
Oh,
whatever you do,
fuck me.
whatever
All
you
right.
buy, wherever you go,
You ready?
it's
You ready?
always
Here we
there
go.
in
Here we
the back
go.
of your mind. You don't have to live that way. You're 30 seconds away.
Oh my
from
god, I barely got up. I didn't think he was gonna make it.
The best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/.
These missions are actually okay. They're starting to grow on me because it's like it's not just point and shoot.
/welcome. Thank you guys for helping.
Pick up the goddamn
Let's
thing.
get back to the show.
Give me the
I thought
goddamn
for a
soap.
long time, the Quebecois,
All right, here we go.
very
We're
much
getting there,
fought for
guys.
this.
We're almost
It was,
there.
Trudeau's dad, Pierre
I didn't mean to
Trudeau,
throw that.
Canada
Where's my
official,
thing?
a bilingual
Okay.
country.
Scared
So if
me.
you get
I was like,
something
don't tell
imported
me I
from
just
Canada,
hucked it.
all the packaging is in French and in
Oh, we're
English.
getting there, guys.
This was something
Yeah.
that in Quebec was very conscious and fought for, and really like a major point of pride.
That it's bilingual?
Yes.
No, but so I'll give you, just to kind of go off on a slight tangent to address your point, there is something called the Office de la Langue Française, the Office of the French Language. It's a taxpayer governmental language police that goes around to ensure that if you have a store sign, the French one is more dominant in terms
Just more
of
like
font
just
size
both hands up.
than the English one. It has to be by law. Your children cannot go to either English or French school. The only way you have the right to send your kids to English school is if your parents had been taught in English. So, for example, I came to Quebec in 1975. My mother had studied at an English-speaking school in Lebanon. She passed that right to me, and I can pass that right to my children so that they, even though, by the way, at their school, their English school, they still have to learn fully French. But but I'm not forced to send them to only French school, right?
Okay.
So no, it's not this beautiful, romantic, bilingual country. The Quebecers are very, very sensitive about Quebec's, the language. By the way, let me add another tangent before I come back and finish the story about the demographics. So I've been on Joe Rogan 11 times. I've discussed an endless number of contentious issues. Not trying to be contentious, but difficult issues that can get people riled up. I am not joking, Michael, if I told you that the most hate that I've ever... I mean, I've talked about Islam. I've talked about Israel-Palestine issues, trans rights. By far, by orders of magnitude, the most hate I received was the following. But by the way, do you know where I'm going with this? Do you know the story?
Probably the left.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So this was maybe the 10th appearance, or maybe
I don't even think it'd be the neo, not like the alt-right online.
So I had gone on Joe's show, and we were chatting about different summer trips we had taken. So he said, "Oh, my family and I just returned from Greece." I said, "Oh, I must have been close by. My family and I just returned from Portugal." And then I said, "Yeah, I gotta tell you, I don't think we'll be moving to Portugal because I can't stand that Portuguese accent, right?" I'm being flippant. I'm joking around. I said, "Oh, but if we're gonna talk about ugly accents."
Oh, it tells you. I've never even noticed on the frickin' mini map up top. I don't look at that.
Language. But
My bad.
when it comes to the ugliest accent that is humanly possible, it is the French-Canadian accent. It is an affront to human dignity. My exact words. Now, all right, take a moment to recoup.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I think, and I can back this up. I have a very high opinion of your intelligence. I have receipts. Just listen to you talk. You seem erudite, and maybe we need to give you one of those theory of mind tests, because maybe you're so opposed to suicidal empathy that you have homicidal. I don't know what the opposite would be.
Oh man, how do I get over there?
Yeah, like you're supposed to be a sadist, not a masochist.
Very true. By the way, one of my nicknames is, Marquis de Sade, S-A-D-E. I'm Marquis de Sade, S-A-A-D.
Oh
right?
My God.
Yeah, but anyways, so...
But wait, I gotta say something, because I had something similar happen.
No, I'm not.
I think this is the first time I was on Rogan, and you never know. For people who haven't been on the show, you're there for 3 hours, you leave, and you're like, "What the hell did I just say?" And you can't remember everything. It'll be a throwaway comment.
Where's that echo?
Takes care of it for the next week. This is your life, right?
Oh,
so,
it's gonna be much
Piece
worse.
of ass.
Hold on. For me,
Underground?
I just had
It
a
might be
casual
underground.
comment
Let's see if
about how
there's.
British people are
Let's
so
see if there's an
ugly,
underground.
and I didn't think it was controversial. And oh boy, they did not like
No.
that. And then later there was receipts, because there was an article about what's the most searched term regarding the British in Europe, and it was, "Why are the British so ugly?" That was actually, Google came back, so I was vindicated. But please, sir, go ahead with the
thing. That
Hunger wave.
dashingly handsome?
Gotta
I
get
think your
through
Starmer is
it.
pretty good looking by British standards.
There's gonna be some hunger
This
waves.
is Michael Malice who's saying this. Okay, so just for you to know, the
So, yeah.
term affront to human dignity is one of my typical hyperbolic gag thing. And I literally took a screenshot of not all, a subset of the cases where, so if you love U2, you're an affront to human dignity. You love musicals, you're an affront to human dignity. and on and on. So
I can't stand musicals.
Probably the one I'm most famous
I've always
for
hated
is
musicals.
my hatred of the Beatles. And so I say, I mean, that's, and I actually...
Everybody really tried to encourage that on me too. It's like, no, come on, it'll be fun. Musicals, you'll be great in it. Yeah. Fuck that. I fucking hate musicals. I don't even enjoy them. There was one musical I enjoyed, and it was because my friend Tyson and who else was in it? Oh, Thomas.
From a Quebec journalist, Okay.
Yeah, it was like it was on my
And
birthday.
basically, it's the Inquisition.
And Thomas, it was Peter Pan.
So I was
He was
very
one of the
polite.
pirates.
I said,
And he came up in the crowd, and they were all like doing their thing, like in the crowd, and being like, "Ah, where's Peter Pan?" And he came up, he's all, "Happy birthday!" Yeah, I'll always remember that. That was really cool. With like interactive with the theater, like the story. First time I ever felt that. That was actually pretty cool. I was like, "Well, that's yeah." That's a memory. Nah, I love Thomas. He's actually, both those guys are successful. Tyson's doing all sorts of stuff now. After cheating death, my dude. Me and you, my dude. Both cheated death now. But yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff, and Thomas has been in, he was in Space Force. He worked with Kumar from Harold and Kumar, and I can't remember what show that was, but what was that movie that Thomas was on? He was kind of an extra on it.
He's fantastic. They're all
I can't remember the name of it. It was a wild movie though.
I can't walk in the street. I don't know if the barista
What was that
who's
movie?
gonna serve my coffee is gonna go, here's what I think of your
He'd
French
probably yell at me
Mohammed."
for not remembering that. Yeah, I can't think of it.
letters sent to
It was a good
Korea,
movie though.
fire
The second one was
deals,
alright, but
shit,
yeah, I did enjoy it.
seller.
The bad guy was
What happened to
badass.
your inclusion and equity,
Played like a
degenerates?
Nazi dude.
I
He
thought
did a
we're
good
super
job.
empathetic. I made a joke about your accent. I'm now become a falafel camel rider. Yeah.
Wait, do you know what's
All right,
even
guys,
funnier?
where is this
That
echo?
knowing if they ever stopped you in the street or yelled at you, they have to yell at you with that accent.
By the way, Michael Malice, I'm fully francophone. Je parle le français parfaitement. I actually speak it with an international accent. Now, some of the Quebecers will say it's an obnoxious accent. You're in Quebec. Why don't you speak like us? Well, I'm moving to Mississippi, right? I don't now speak English by going,
Oh.
y'all gonna get some fixin'. I mean, right?
Oh,
I don't
here we go.
suddenly change
Here we go.
Not yet. Maybe in 5 years, inshallah, it will change. So, anyways, okay, let's put aside that story. Okay. Now let's come back to the demographics. The French Canadian government thought
Malice is just losing
we
it.
need to protect our society from the mean English language. So here's a great idea. If we were to let in hundreds of thousands of French-speaking Muslims who eventually down the road, inshallah, they will decapitate us. But before decapitating us, they'll say, "Bonjour, monsieur." The decapitation will be happening in French. So technically speaking, we've protected our linguistic heritage.
Yeah, did a good job.
Well, don't they say bonjour, hi?
Bonjour, hi, only when they're trying to be bilingual. Some of them refuse the bilingual part, and it's only bonjour. As a matter of fact, some of them will get upset if you address them in English, right? So, for example, sometimes journalists will write to me in French, knowing fully well that I'm fluent in French. I mean, I learned French, by the way, before I did English, right? Because I'm from Lebanon, which used to be a French protectorate. If I respond in English, and as with this guy, the guy who wrote to me to explain that was further proof that I was committing linguistic genocide. Because look at the arrogant asshole. I wrote to him in French. I know that he speaks French, yet he writes to me in English. Well, guess what, asshole? My keyboard is in English, and I don't want to worry about the French accents. So how about you F off?
I'm dying.
I know. Infinitely wide.
I know. That is solid, though. Yeah, my keyboard's in English, motherfucker. Yeah, that's great.
Both you and I are height challenged. Imagine if life weren't so unfair that I could have been exactly Gadsad and 6'2". I owned the world at that point.
You know, because a lot of times people on social media will tell me, dude, you're almost 50. What is wrong with you? Grow up, get a real job. And you give me comfort knowing that when I get a little older, I'm still going to be the same person. And I'm still going to be terrible and obnoxious, even when I'm not trying to be.
Life is short, man. Smile, have fun, be irreverent, joke around.
So, On a technical level, what's the moving process? Like, do you have that alien a special ability? Is it something easy to do?
Right now, it's a visiting position.
Okay.
So the way it works at my university is I'm allowed my home university. I'm allowed up to 2 years of a leave without pay. So last year I took my first year of leave just because of the orgiastic Jew hatred. It was impossible. It was impossible for me to go to campus.
Orgiastic. He likes that word.
Well, after I already faced a lot of threats prior to October 7th, but after October 7th, where I dared say, "Hey, I'm concerned about my, family in Israel," that meant that I was supporting the genocide of Gaza. So how do you want me to walk on campus? Everybody recognizes me and knows me. I'm the head Zionist who's committing, genocide in Gaza. And outside my university campus, there is a million keffiyeh-clad guys that I escaped from in 1975 when the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was fighting in Lebanon. And now you want me to go through the protests of free Palestine, globalize the Intifada. So if you think that Columbia University was a rough environment or Harvard, you don't want to come to how it is in Montreal. It's a completely different level, right? Because just the demographic reality. And so I thought, okay, I'll just take a leave of absence. So last year I spent 1 year at Northwood University, which is called the Free Enterprise University. So they're very much, Austrian School of Economics, freedom of economics, freedom of speech, freedom of inquiry. So it was obvious that, there'd be a good fit there. And now I'm doing 1 year. I'm extending my leave, and then after that, we'll see what happens.
Wait, so it was actually, you haven't been on campus in quite some time?
At Concordia?
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, you're getting another exclusive. When I go on campus now, just to pick up my mail, I usually will go late at night. My wife will park in the alley. I walk in with big black glasses and a hat. I surreptitiously run to the thing, take out my mail, and leave. Now, I don't mean to imply that on every corner of every place on campus, there's somebody who's going to kill me. But, even when I was on campus prior to October 7th, there had been several death threats and so on, where I had to walk on campus with security. Now, this is happening in the 21st century in Canada, where and it's not like I'm an incendiary guy who's ever calling for violence against anybody. I'm basically saying, hey, you know what? Freedom of speech is really important. Freedom of inquiry is really important. No, women can't have penises. Yes, meritocracy is important. All the stuff that most sane people would say, yeah, obviously, no kidding. But that becomes a dangerous proposition. Once you add in the Gaza versus Israel thing, it becomes a, keg.
Holy crap! So, when you're when are you actually leaving the country?
So for this first year, I go back and forth. So there's still residents here. Our daughter is finishing high school here and so on. So I go back and forth to Oxford, and then after that, we'll see. That's all I can say.
So you guys know that I wear sheath underwear every single day. I am a sheath underwear model. It's a brand that I love and is near and dear to my heart. And they sent me talking points, and I'm going to read them verbatim just so you see how they understand me. This is literally what it says. I am happy talk about a favorite advertiser on the You're Welcome with Mike Malice. I am talking about sheath underwear. Look, they don't need to send me talking points because this is a product that is near and dear to my genitals every minute of the day, even in the shower. What makes sheath underwear unique is its dual pouch technology. It keeps you cool in the summer, keeps you snug in the winter. There's one pouch for one part of your male anatomy, another pouch for another part of your male anatomy. You try it on the first time, you're like, what is this? And then years later, you're wearing it all the time and designing underwear for the company as well, because that's how much I love sheath underwear. Lots of people are like, is this stuff really that good, like my friends? And I go, just try it. And they try it, they're like, oh, okay. You really know what you're talking about? Like, yeah, when it comes to underwear, there's like 5 things I know what I'm talking about. This is one of them. If you thought about buying sheath before,
that's fair.
Let this be your welcome to buy a pair. I promise you, you will enjoy it. They also have shirts, they've got hoodies, They use materials like bamboo and mesh for even more cooling comfort. We need that here in Austin. It gets pretty muggy. It's the sweatiest city in America, apparently, even though we're not full of big fat fatties.
Austin.
Anyway, here's what I want you to do.
There you are.
Underwear.com and use promo code Malice, and you get 20% off today. Oh, they very helpfully spelled it out for me. MALICE is the promo
Austin,
code,
I wouldn't doubt it.
20% off.
I was thinking
And then
Florida,
you will be
somewhere
saved.
in
I am happy
somewhere
to
in
talk
Florida.
about my favorite advertiser on the Year Luck
Probably
Podcast.
Miami. Yeah, because it's like you look at what was that,
Thank you,
Dexter?
Chief, for sponsoring the show for so long.
They're like
And
always sweating.
my junk.
Every single scene, they're sweating.
Let's get back to the show. So, just on a
And it's
personal
Miami. It
level,
makes
this is
sense.
something- I imagine it's disheartening, but I would still love to hear.
But
your
I guess
thoughts
Austin
on-
would probably be the same.
something
You
that
know,
affects
it's
personally. This isn't just something academic. You know,
it's
like
just
with
well.
and, when Charlie
I
got
think the thing that
murdered,
Florida
I
has
mean,
going for it though
I
is
wasn't
it's
invested with him,
it's
but I
humid
certainly
because
knew him.
you know you got all
couldn't
that
watch the
water.
video, and everyone advised me not to. They're like, if you haven't seen it, don't see it.
So I would assume Texas would be more of a dry heat, but there is a lot of water in near Texas too. So I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Tonight we're recording this on Friday.
Not as
It
much,
does a
but
number on you. You know, it's
who knows?
I don't
Climate
have
is
the
weird.
verbiage for it, to be honest. So
Sometimes it
I-
just
I-
doesn't
on a
even make
personal level,
sense.
I'd love to hear how this has impacted you.
Well, I can tell you, I put out two, very raw clips as soon as I had found out. First, when he was shot, but he hadn't been pronounced dead, and then after when he was pronounced dead, I did know Charlie. He was a friend. I've been on his show many times. He's been on mine. We've met in person at Mar-a-Lago. We've communicated many times. Just a lovely human being. He truly embodies all of the qualities that you could aspire to have on a human level, right? He's warm. He's void of ego. He's generous. I mean,
Abort.
he's everything you'd hope for. And even from the perspective of freedom of speech and so on, he's not coming with a message of hate. He's saying, hey, I want to go to the ecosystem where all of these idiotic ideas spread. Let's talk about it. And
Yeah, he said he was beating up on college kids, or like people said that he was beating up on college kids. It's like no, I think it was Destiny that said that.
He's very genuine. Listen, my
And Gad is right. Yeah, you go to the source of where all this madness is coming from.
that I went on the show, which wasn't too long ago, that I was speaking to Charlie Kirk. It's as if she's going to meet the biggest rock. She goes, "Daddy, can you introduce me to him? Can I meet him?" And so and he was so lovely with her. That's the power of Charlie Kirk, and that is.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to show you something. I haven't. You're going to get an exclusive too.
Okay, go.
Yeah.
You know how in punditry, a lot of times there'll be a phrase and everyone gloms onto it. So there were three people. So I read every book I own, right? So when I was on Alex Jones' show, three people had the book with the same title called The Great Reset. Alex Jones, Glenn Beck, and Charlie. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the set, signed copies of all three. Because if I have to read Alex's book, he gave me a free one. I'm going to get Glenn.
Starting
and
to
I got
cover a
all
lot.
three. And I have Charlie's right here. And do you know what he wrote to me? I'm not happy to show this.
Oh shit!
But Charlie wrote to
I missed
Michael,
one over
"We
there.
will all be in anarchy soon." And I don't think his definition of anarchy is my definition of anarchy. So I.
You gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
it's terrible. But in Arabic, there's an expression where you say Allah laysa God not compare. Usually, when you're talking about a calamity,
I keep
like
punching
this
my
happened
mic.
to Charlie,
Is
you don't
my
want
my
it to
camera
turn
frozen
to
yet?
you, but so God forbid not to compare. Of course, it concerns me because
Good.
I've
Good.
always told people, look, 99.9%.
It's annoying when that happens because I used to have two screens and I could see when it would happen, but I can't now.
But it takes
So I
one negative
apologize.
interaction. For example, luckily I only had one direct
Apologize.
in-person threat. Actually, I was walking with my then 10-year-old son. Knock on wood, you'd like to think that most people are sane, but what happened to Charlie Kirk is a reflection of, not to get professorial, but
That's not right.
if it's
It's
okay
the other
with
way.
you, I just want to explain what allowed this to fester. So in ethical systems, and I know you're a voracious
Hello?
reader, so you might have heard these terms, but I'd like to link them to freedom of speech. There is what's called deontological ethics and consequentialist ethics, right? Maybe I've talked about this on your show before. Is it okay if I mention it again?
No, but you know why I'm laughing?
The fuck?
Why?
I haven't told the story either. When I was in high school,
Why are you throwing shit at me,
I
bruh?
have the video. I have to upload it. I took a bioethics
I'm out.
class.
I'm not messing
and
with
the
it.
teacher told us there's two things, deontological and consequentialist. And me and my two friends made a video called Samantha's Decision about my wife, Samantha, shouldn't have an abortion. And it was like a Saturday Night Live sketch because there's a dream sequence where my friend is the doctor telling her, I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is it's a beautiful baby boy. The bad news is it's an alligator. Or I have good news and bad news. It's Siamese triplets. The bad news is they're connected like paper dolls. And he takes out the paper dolls. And we got a C-, has little or nothing to do with abortion. So when I hear deontological or the other one, it takes me, or consequentialist, it takes me back to that high school class and my worst grade. Sorry.
But see, I love these unexpected bridges, right? I mentioned those words. You take me back to your skit in high school. That's the beauty of having these conversations.
Yeah.
May Charlie Kirk's spirit live on forever. So deontological ethics is an absolute statement. It is never okay to lie. That's deontological. It is okay to lie if you want to spare someone's feelings. That's a consequentialist statement. Now, for most things in life, as I repeatedly try to explain to people, it is perfectly reasonable for us to be consequentialist. If your wife asks you, do I look fat in those jeans, and you want to remain married, then you put on your consequentialist hat. You say you've never looked more beautiful. Maybe you lied a bit, but you're sparing the feelings of someone that you love, right? You don't have to be brutally honest, say, actually, I'm seeing a lot of cellulite, sweetie, okay? Right? That's not a pathway to a happy marriage, okay? But when it comes to foundational principles that have made the West the great society, freedom of speech, freedom of inquiry, presumption of innocence, those by definition have to be deontological. So the minute I say, I believe in freedom of speech, but once I put the qualifier, I'm sinking into consequentialism. So what the guy who killed Charlie Kirk was bathing in, he was bathing in a misfiring of consequentialism, because he's saying, of course I believe in freedom of speech, but not for monsters like Charlie Kirk. And therefore, if I take him out, it is perfectly morally justified, which, by the way, this is precisely why there was a rupture between Sam Harris and I, right? I mean, I wouldn't say Sam Harris and I were the greatest of friends, but we knew each other. We've gone to dinner. I had been on his show. We've communicated. But once I saw the level to which he had sunk in consequentialism, Brett, yes, of course, presumption of innocence is great, but not for Brett Kavanaugh, right? He's not deserving of that, because after all, he's not accused of a crime. It's just a job interview. Oh, of course I believe in freedom of speech, but not for Donald Trump during his first term. Cutting him from Twitter is perfectly reasonable because he's an existential threat. Yes, of course I believe in journalistic.
That's what I've been saying. They find justification in it. And I noticed that in 2014, people were being racist and they're finding justification in it. And it was toward white people, though. Because it was like, well, I mean, it's prejudice plus power. It's like, we can't be racist. It's towards white people.
Had you not lied, Orange Himmler would have come to power. Well, there's nothing that
Oh, God, no. Stop moving. No! How far back am I?
Do I stay loyal to him because I know him, or do I take off
I'm
the gloves and I
probably
come
so
after
far
him?
away.
I chose the latter. He ended up kind of severing our relationship.
Yeah, do you know where this comes from, in my opinion?
Go ahead.
Karl Popper.
Oh, okay.
So Karl Popper, whose first book he's a 2-book series called The Open Society and Its Enemies. And when I was in college, there was a pamphlet called Laissez-faire Books run by Andrea Millen Rich. And it was all books from a pro-liberty perspective. And some of them are much better than others, I can assure you, as I'm sure you can imagine. And some they just had there all the time in the catalog. Economics in One Lesson, I can recommend without reservation to everyone, the Henry Hazlitt masterpiece. And one of those books was Karl Popper, Open Society, Its Enemies. From the title, first book is against Plato and his totalitarianism. Second is Hegel/Marx. And after all these years, I'm like, you know what? This is something that's been resonating in the back of my head. I'm going to read it. And then I look, forward by George Soros. And that's where the Open Society comes from. I'm like, uh-oh, Andrea, we may have taken a detour here. I hated it. But Karl Popper had this idea of, I believe in free speech, but there are certain ideologies that, if allowed to fester, would abolish free speech, so it's okay to censor them. It's like, well, then maybe you believe in free speech as a preference, but you don't believe free speech in and of itself will guarantee a free society, so you don't believe in it fully. You just kind of like the clothes.
That's the paradox of tolerance.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually referenced that in the parasitic mind.
Paradox tolerance, yeah, I've been hearing that.
I'm gonna do a little other detour. Do you know, because this is gonna relate to George Soros, and then to some extent Popper, but more Soros.
It's like, what is it? We can't be tolerant of intolerance.
You know about the grooming gangs, of course, in Britain, yes?
So we need to be intolerant of it.
I told
It's
it
like,
before, and I'll tell you again.
Yeah.
So I had a big part to play with this, or a little part. I'll take whatever credit I had. December 31st, 2024, so 9 months ago, I'm on Twitter, because I have no life, and I see the police reports. And my jaw dropped, because even writing a book, The White Pill, about the nature of evil, I thought, grooming gang, they're these guys in their 20s who find girls who are teenagers.
Oh, it's right there.
And they persuade them to be their girlfriends, and they're underage, and it's this kind of gross thing happening in Britain. That's what I thought, because that's what the term implies. And then you read the police reports, and I encourage people, I'm not going to even repeat this because I don't want to get demonetized. I don't even paraphrase it. Assume I'm lying. Assume everything I'm saying is a lie. Go read it for yourself, please. And you read what's happening to these children, and you're like, this term was consciously chosen to be deceptive, and I lost it on Twitter. Elon saw my tweet.
Damn.
He lost it.
Hook it up.
And then they started talking about it again.
I think that one might be good, especially for the Czech.
So yes, I'm very familiar with these so-called open torture gangs.
Thank you for your contribution to the cause. Look, I posted. There's one. I mean, there are many cities where these grooming things were happening. One was called Huddersfield, which is a small town in England, and there is what's called the Huddersfield 20. These are 20 guys
So I got,
who had been the perpetrators of these. I mean, really,
I don't think
it's
there's anything
impossible
over
to imagine
there.
the stuff that they were doing. And so I took their name. This is from.
I've gotten quite a bit
official
done actually
sources.
already.
It could be the
I've only been at
Telegraph
this
or
for a
the
little bit.
Spectator or BBC, the police reports, as you said, and I put their name on Twitter, right? And so I'm going to.
I thought
their names.
so.
You ready? Okay. Muhammad Ahmad Muhammad, Ahmad Ahmad Muhammad, Muhammad Mahmoud Muhammad. Okay. So I put this up, and in my typical style, I said, well, I'm not smart enough to have the kind of big data analytic brain to be able to see what is the unifying theme across these 20 guys. So now I'm going to ask you to see if you can guess how it's going to go back to George Soros. Do you know who was the real culprit of the 20 Muhammads ganging your daughter?
Who?
It was the Jews. What do you mean? Come on, Michael. And why was it the Jews? So now link it to George Soros. Can you link it?
Well, George Soros wants to destroy England by importing Muslims.
Exactly, because he is an acolyte of the Open Society. George Soros is a Jew. So, hey, you Zionists, chill. Is it chill? No, shill, not chill.
Chill.
Shill.
Yeah, not chill.
Right. Zionist shill, Gad Sad. What a hypocrite you are. It's not the Muhammads to blame. It's the Jews. And so then I created a new mathematical equation. It's called Muhammad plus Muhammad plus Muhammad equals Mordechai. When 3 Muhammads gang your daughter, it's really Mordechai. But if you want to stay with the letter M, it could be Moses. But it's not the Muhammads. They don't have personal agency. It's really George Soros with his stuff that caused the rape of those girls. So even for the guy who's been doing this for decades, even for the guy who wrote The Parasitic Mind, my heart sinks because I say the people who wrote this to me are people that walk amongst us. If I can't get you to point to the right culprit of who raped your daughter, how can we win this battle? It's always the Jew that does it.
I made a point not to look at social media in the wake of what happened to Charlie. I didn't want to see the video, and I didn't want to see the hot takes, and I didn't want to see the celebrations. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to handle. There's not gonna be a benefit. There's gonna be a downside. And just this morning, we got Gutfeld yesterday. I got people to laugh, which I was very proud of because I think that's what you needed. I'm like people. I said people watch this show to laugh. I said when you guys booked me for September 11th, I had all these 9/11 jokes ready, but now they seem in bad taste. And when I got the Boomer audience to laugh at that, I'm like, okay, we're doing good. And then we had a very very good show. So today on the flight back, I was looking at the mentions, and one of the comments was, "It took us 48 hours."
I do need
to
another
figure out
coffee.
That Charlie was murdered by the
I'm
US
trying to figure out how
government at the
to turn
behest of
off
Israel. And I'm like, why did it take you that long?
vibration
That's
on my
always-
controller because it's burning
it takes you 1
through
second. That's always
the
the answer.
battery.
I don't even know the mental gymnastics.
I don't
yeah,
need it.
Just to add to your point, so have you heard of my game, 6 Degrees of Jew? I think you could imagine, right? It's
Wait,
based
well, because bacon is trafe.
right. So I mean, yes, people relate it to Kevin Bacon, but there is actually a scientific phenomenon called the small world problem. And actually,
Okay.
the guy who developed it, I mean, the original guy was, I think, Stanley Milgram of Milgram.
Oh, yeah,
Experiment,
Milgram,
right?
yeah.
Right. Although it was another set
That's
of
not
studies.
it.
But the guy who really one of the guys who popularized it is this guy called Duncan Watts, who was actually at my alma mater when I did my PhD at Cornell, and he was there, but in a completely different department. And he wrote a book called The Small World Phenomenon, which you could see where that's going, whereby as long as you're not talking about a closed society, it's an undiscovered society in Papua New Guinea that literally has no connection to anybody in the world, you could connect any 2 people on Earth in fewer than 6 steps.
Oh, wow, okay.
Right? Okay. And so I took that principle from that field is called sociometrics. It's coming up with quantitative ways of creating a measurement of social networks. And I then, using kind of a form of analogical reasoning, came up with the 6 degrees of Jew, which is
Is there really no way to fix that?
You have up to 6 illusory causal steps to blame it on the Jews. And
You
so
really
I
can't
can
turn
give
it
you
off.
a different level of
That's
difficulty this game. So here's
kinda
here's a tough one. I'm
ridiculous
gonna
if you
take to
can't.
Sort of level 4. An Amazonian frog just died in the Amazon. Blame the Jews. Go.
Okay, so it's going to be caused. Oh, that's easy.
Okay.
Because
I'm
some
gonna
of
count the steps. So go ahead.
I'm gonna keep
I can
looking.
do it in 1 step.
Wow.
Because the rainforest is being deforested at behest of international companies who are converting it to farmland, and obviously, if it's an international company, it must be run by Jews.
You, sir, are a master of the. You just got a black belt in 6 degrees of Jew. Very well
There
done.
you go. Yeah. We don't even have to look up which company it is or who runs it. It's clearly, and if it's not,
Is
run
it?
by
I wasn't listening. It must be
that's how
6
you know
degrees
it's
of
really
Kevin
run by
Bacon.
Jews.
That is it 6 or 7 degrees? I always hear like, I think I hear a little bit of both, and I keep getting them mixed up. But it's
Wink, wink.
yeah, the idea that everything can just be connected back to Kevin Bacon, and that's yeah. Well, and that's how a lot of this always is. It's Trump or racist or bigot, or it's always right back to that. It's how can they bring it back to Trump, you know.
Open society, yes. Are there any parentheses that I didn't cover?
I don't know if there's a way to turn this off. I don't think there is. I really don't like that. I need to make another coffee. I will be right back. I'm gonna turn this off real quick. Probably gonna go schmoogin' a pancake. And yeah, see if I can figure this out, because this is kind of annoying. You should be able to turn that off. That's dumb.
Camaraderie.
All right. BRB, good to see that my camera's still working though. Good lord. All right, BRB.